The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary. And I will make the place of my feet glorious. And the city was pure gold like unto clear glass. And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third a chalcedony, the fourth an emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth a topaz, the 10th a chrysoprasus, the 11th a jacinth, the 12th an amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every several gate was of one pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it. But the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it. And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it. And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination, or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life.
Revelation chapter 21, verse 18. And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold like unto clear glass. Shalom Yasharala, peace Israel. Kahalayim la Alahayanawa, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakak Wadash. All praises to our power, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakak Wadash. Double honor to our apostles and elders, great millstone. Peace and blessing to the elect of Israel, Shalom. Job chapter 36, verse 7. He withdraweth not his eyes from the righteous, but with kings are they on the throne. Yeah, he doth establish them forever, and they are exalted. Psalms chapter 122 and verse 4. Beginning at verse 3. Jerusalem is built as a city that's compact together. Whither the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, unto the testimony of Israel, to give thanks unto the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. But there are set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the house of David. This is a big thing, man, because we are a part of power that we can't fully comprehend right now. We are a part of something that's beyond this world, beyond this earthly realm, but it's going to be established on this earthly realm, on this earth. Okay? Because as it tells us in the Lord's Prayer, on earth as it is in heaven. Yes, our kingdom will be on the earth, but the order, the prestige and the honor, the majesty, but beginning with the order, that's coming from the heavens. And along with that, the glory. Okay? So what we're a part of is well worth it, man. Okay? It's more than worth it.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
right. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing this word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. And what I want to get into, okay, this morning, is getting into some information, dealing with the role of Amalek, all right, the small hats, okay, the Ish people, all right, because as they have become, the center of attention, all right, the spirit is really putting a spotlight on them. It's good to understand, the role that they played in building this wicked empire, okay. They played a major role, okay, in the wickedness, all right, that has been established in the earth, okay. The spiritual wickedness on the left hand side, all right, they are at the forefront, okay. They are the sect of this society that we see control the masses. They are the few, they control the many, and that's what's been coming out. So we're gonna go into some things. What I'm gonna do is a video from Elder Knock, out of the main camp, in Connecticut, one of the main camps in Connecticut, of the apostles, the top elders, and the bishops, okay, in New York and Connecticut. He's very good, putting together quick documentaries and going into particular histories, very informative, elder. And he put together this quick, video dealing with, okay, Amalek. Now, I'm gonna play the video. I'm gonna really much just let it play, and then we're gonna go into some precepts, and then I got some articles we're gonna go to as well. Then we got some more videos to go into. So y'all just lock in, eat your breakfast, sip your wine, your mimosas, whatever you got, and we're gonna ride out. So let me start out. Let's start off with this video. Let me cue it up.
Anti-Semitic incidents occurred in the country last year. Some of the latest high-profile incidents are reigniting a conversation about how to stop them. Entertainer Nick Cannon and NFL wide receiver Deshaun Jackson apologized after being criticized for making anti-Semitic comments, and both said they would learn more about Jewish culture and history. National correspondent Drika Duncan joins us now. Drika, good morning. So what could they expect to learn?
Well, good morning to you, Tony. The African-American community and the Jewish community, the relationship has been at times very strong, sometimes contentious and even complex. So we decided to take a look back at how we got here and what lies ahead.
What is the Jewish link to the discovery of America? There is speculation that Christopher Columbus may have been Jewish. The astronomical charts that he used on his historic voyage were prepared by Abraham Zacuto, a Jew. It is also known that members of his crew were Jewish. In the same year that
And when we think of Wall Street, we think of finance, money, stock market, power, and success. However, what we don't think about is the early history often ignored by many. The history of the people who literally built Wall Street.
Cause I'm sick of rapping circles around these clowns steady trying to call me out. It's like I'm listening to motherfucking dogs me out. You probably do better trying to come and stalk me out. You don't want it with rap, this is what I'm all about. Come on, no gangster, you ain't neither. But I know that I spit ether. I sit across your belly, show you I'm not R. Kelly. Pass me the weed, I'ma put my ashes out on his ass for the last time, man. Watch your fucking mouth. You niggas be talking, say my name. Seems like your mouth is not connected to your brain. 2003 and shit, it ain't the same. Better have a strap, my nigga, simple and plain. Put your nuts on the table, my nigga, let's play the game. Took you so long, you be up addicted to pain. I don't wanna hear what you meant, do not explain. Right before you lay in your coffin, don't say my name. It's the last time, man. I'm through.
As for Edward Mossberg, he says he will continue until his last breath to bring Blacks and Jews together.
Does it feel like African Americans and Jewish people should be more connected because of our plights?
Not more connected, they should be highly connected, okay? Because the Jewish people went through the slavery in Europe, okay? And the people here were slavery here by their own people, because it was wrong. Wrong
it was.
A nonprofit group that marks historical sites in Rhode Island has now made its mark on Newport.
Rhode Island Slave History Medallions installed a medallion on Bowen's Wharf to give Rhode Islanders and visitors alike a strong reminder of our past. Eyewitness News reporter Courtney Carter explains.
Well, it's a black medallion on the side of a building that everyone walking through the wharf will pass. And creators say that's the point, to look at it and take a second and hopefully learn some more about it. The group Rhode Island Slave History Medallions held a ceremony to unveil a new medallion on Bowen's Wharf, simply reading Rhode Island Slave History.
We want to tell these stories so that people in the future can know our true history.
Chairman Charles Roberts says the medallion is to acknowledge Newport's role as an integral part of the triangular slave trade, where slavery was a large part of the state and country's economics.
This is where the rum was made. The rum was made from sugar. The ships from here that were financed and banked by some of the most well-known names in history left here, went to Africa, traded their rum for slaves.
The artwork was inspired by the work of Pompey Stevens, his work known to be among the first signed African artwork in the United States.
I'm just happy to have helped to realize Pompey Stevens' style and his form. Honored to have helped with the artwork that was necessary.
The medallion also contains a QR code taking you to the Rhode Island Slave History website to learn even more. Many Rhode Islanders were in attendance at the unveiling, including Fern Lima, who says it's about time. She says her great-grandparents were slaves here.
My grandparents in Newport were the Matthews family. They came up here to work in the mansions when they were youngsters and stayed married. You go to school, they never talked anything about the Black history. But it's nice now. Different places we go, people are opening up a little bit and the stories are coming out, and I hope they just continue.
The group has been trying to raise money to install more medallions. The first medallion was placed in Patriots Park in Portsmouth last year. In Newport, I'm Courtney Carter, Eyewitness News.
The story of the slaves in America begins with Christopher Columbus. His voyage to America was not financed by Queen Isabella, but by Louis de Santiago, who advanced the sum of 17,000 ducats, about 5,000 pounds today, equal to 50,000 pounds, to finance the voyage, which began on August 3rd, 1492. Columbus was accompanied by 5 Marranos, Jews who had forsworn their religion and supposedly became Catholics. Louis de Torre, interpreter, Marco, the surgeon, Bamal, the physician, Alonso de la Calle, and Gabriel Sanchez. The reference is The International Jew by Henry Ford. Gabriel Sanchez, abetted by the other 4 Jews, sold Columbus on the idea of capturing 500 Indians and selling them as slaves in Seville, Spain, which was done. Columbus did not receive any of the money from the sale of the slaves, but he became the victim of a conspiracy fostered by Bamal, the ship's doctor. He, Columbus, suffered injustice and imprisonment as his reward, betrayed by the 5 Marranos, or Jews, whom he had trusted and helped. This, ironically, was the beginning of slavery in the Americas. The source is Adventures of an African Slaver, published in 1928, page 11. The Jews were expelled from Spain on August 2nd, 1492, and from Portugal in 1497. Many of these Jews immigrated to Holland, where they set up the Dutch West Indies Company to exploit the New World. In 1654, the first Jew, Jacob Bar Simpson, immigrated from Holland to New Amsterdam, New York. And in the next decade, many more followed him, settling along the East Coast, principally in New Amsterdam and Newport, Rhode Island. They were prevented by ordinances issued by Governor Peter Stuyvesant from engaging in the domestic economy. So they quickly discovered that the territory inhabited by the Indians would be a fertile field. There were no laws preventing the Jews from trading with the Indians. The first Jew to begin trading with the Indians was Hyman Levy, who imported cheap glass beads, textiles, earrings, armbands, and other cheap adornments from Holland, which were traded for valuable fur pelts. Hyman Levy was soon joined by Jews Nicholas Lowe and Joseph Simon. Lowe conceived the idea of trading rum and whiskey to the Indians and set up a distillery in Newport, where these 2 liquors were produced. Within a short time, there were 22 distilleries in Newport, all of them owned by Jews, manufacturing and distributing firewater. The story of the debauching of the Indians, with its resultant massacres of the early settlers, is a dramatic story in itself. It is essential to comprehend the seaport of Newport. It is important in order to recognize the Jewish share in the slave commerce. There was a period when it was commonly referred to as, quote, the Jewish Newport World Center of Slave Commerce. Altogether at this time, there were in North America 6 Jewish communities: Newport, Charleston, New York, Philadelphia, Richmond, and Savannah. There were also many other Jews scattered over the entire East Coast. Although New York held first place in the settlers of Jews in North America, Newport held second place. New York was also the main source of kosher meat, supplying the North American settlements, then the West Indies, and also South America. Now Newport took over. Newport also became the great trade harbor of the East Coast of North America. There, vessels from other ports met to exchange commodities. Newport, as previously mentioned, represented the foremost place in the commerce of rum, whiskey, and liquor dealings. And to include, it finally became the main center of slave dealings. It was from this port that the ships left on their way across the ocean to gather their black human cargo and then derive great sums of money in exchange for them. An authentic contemporary report based on authority indicates that of 128 slave ships, for instance, unloaded in Charleston within 1 year, their cargo, 120 of these were undersigned by Jews from Newport and Charleston by their own name.
The African American community and the Jewish community, the relationship has been at times very strong, sometimes contentious and even complex. So we decided to take a look back at how we got here and what lies ahead.
So as you can see, okay, the history, just a little bit of history of, okay, Amalek, all right, these so-called Jews, and their major role that they played in jump-starting the captivity, okay, of the tribes. You seen how they swindled, Gad, with the fire water, and there's no telling what they was putting in the liquor. Okay, they were trying to sterilize Gad and, dumb, Gad and Reuben down. But Amalek really embodies the energy of the serpent, he really embodies that, man. This man is very cunning and crafty. Matter of fact, let's get a couple of them. Yeah, brother, if you can put, what's that, Genesis 3? How he was more subtle than any beast of the field. Like Amalek really, comes in that energy of the serpent, man. Through witchcraft. He's very cunning. Okay, and business, the way this man does business, the way he's able to swindle and do business, because you heard how, they was bringing those cheap glass beads, from Europe, and they was getting those minks, and those minks were very expensive because it takes a lot, to get that fur, all right, to the point where it's wearable. There's a lot of labor that goes into, making the animal fur, all right, sanitary, to be worn. Okay, and it was real good material, and pretty much they was getting nothing for they was getting something for nothing with them cheap glass beads, man. But that's just the energy that's in, okay, these goddamn devils, man. Okay. So this is Brother Bayon Yashala, Genesis 3:1. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord had made. Now, this was speaking of, all right, a man, all right, they came from a particular lineage, the sons of the wicked. Okay. And what did he do? He was very crafty. Okay. And you go into the serpent, just that's describing his character, man. And also goes into the Hebrew word, all right, Nakash, okay, which goes into diviner. Okay, he told you how Christopher Columbus, how he had different astrologers with him. Okay, as he was going on this trip. Okay, it goes into divining and prognosticators. You see, what did they get there from? The Chaldeans of ancient Babylon was into that. All right. So when you go into the Chaldeans, this is mainly speaking of Amalek, man. Okay. It said, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord had made. And he said unto the woman, yeah, had the Most High said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. Okay. And what did he do? He brought a philosophy another way, okay, to the chosen seed, the sons of God. Okay. And we're going to get into that a little bit later on. Now, all I want to do, okay, I got another. Okay, and this was all prophesied. If a brother can, you can post Jeremiah 17:4 while I get ready to queue up this article. Okay. It was all prophesied that this will happen to us because of our disobedience. Okay, we was you get Deuteronomy 28:68, because we go into those things, but now we're seeing how it played out. The technicalities of it. Okay. So I want to get this article here. Lord will, that video kind of laid the groundwork, for what we're going to cover. Okay, the rest of the lesson, So Columbus was funded by so-called Jews, all right, to come over here. Okay. And pretty much, let me see. Yeah. And pretty much that jump started, the transport, okay, of that transatlantic slavery, man, which was the fulfillment of prophecy, us being scattered. Okay, matter of fact, with Deuteronomy 28:64 as well. Okay, of us being scattered. Now, this the brother beyond Yasha Jeremiah 17:4 says, and thou even thyself shall discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee. And what was one of the main things that caused us to discontinue from our heritage was that hardcore chattel slavery, which completely separated us from who we were. Okay. All right. It says, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not. Okay. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. And that anger was executed through these Edomites. Okay. And mainly Amalek. That's why they was able to be so crafty, so business savvy. Okay. And pretty much started to dominate the earth. So the Lord, through them, showcased his anger upon us, man. Okay. And Amalek played a heavy role in that. All right, this is the brother beyond Yasha Deuteronomy 28:68. It says, and the Lord shall bring thee, okay, and the Lord shall bring thee into the land. All right. So like it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. And it said what, 128 ships. They came, over here to the Americas, okay, as cargo ships of slavery. They said 128 of them belong to who? Amalek, man. Okay. It says, by the way thereof, I spake unto thee. All right. And Egypt is speaking of what? America. Spiritual Egypt. Okay. Which Egypt goes to what? Double bondage, man. Okay. It says, thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies. Okay. Did that not happen? For bond men and bond women, and you can get insurance on your slaves, man. Okay, a lot of those boats, Jakes that didn't make it, they was insured. When you buy slaves, Amalek had insurance companies where you could put insurance on your slaves. So if they didn't make it, you was compensated. Okay. Amalek set these things up. And then he even had it where you could exchange slaves on the stock market. You see, slaves were stock. And it says, and no man shall buy you, which means redeem you. We wasn't, there was no body in the earth that was able to redeem us, okay, from this bondage, man. Okay. All right, so let's read this one. Then we're gonna go. All right, it says, this is Deuteronomy 28:64. It says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all the people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there, all right, thou shalt serve other gods. All right, and this slave trade was a way that the Lord scattered us everywhere, man. It said, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And that's why you have our people today, Israelites, that are still into Christianity, Islam, all these different religions, all right, that our forefathers didn't reverence. Okay, King David wasn't a Christian. Okay, Solomon wasn't a Christian. Moses, okay, Samuel, Jeremiah, Isaiah, they wasn't Christians, man. Or what they call it, Judaism. They ain't practice no damn Judaism, man. Okay, they was followers of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Okay, they was obedient, to a standard. Okay, in faith. You see, so I want to get this article here. Oh, I got another article. I'm gonna get this one here. Okay, when it says no man shall buy us, that means redeem us from the situation we was in. Okay, instead we were sold to our enemies. And then vocab would say, well, see, it says no man shall buy you. Y'all was bought. Okay, which is a dumb, stupid ass, simple ass argument, man. Okay, so we was already sold. Okay, but no man will redeem us. There's nothing in the earth that can redeem us from our situation. That's why we gotta wait on our Redeemer to come from a whole nother realm, which is Yahweh Shai. Now, I want to get this article here. Just make sure y'all can see it. Okay. Now, this is from AfricaSource.com. It said the Rothschild bankers, the fresh free slavers, and the rise of capitalism in Britain and America by Ogio Anu. It says the Rothschild bankers, the Freshfield slavers, all right, and the rise of capitalism in Britain. It says, according to the Financial Times of London, all right, June 26, 2009, two of the biggest names in the city of London have previously disclosed links to slavery in the British colonies. Documents seen by Financial Times have revealed. Nathan Mayer Rothschild, okay, the banking family 19th century patriarch. Now, Nathan Mayer Rothschild, all right, was the son of Maya Amsher Rothschild. Okay, he sent his 5 sons to start, the banking cartel of the Rothschild family today. Okay, and Nathan Mayer Rothschild was in Britain. He was stationed in Britain, and he became, the richest of the 5 brothers, and he played a major role, okay, in a society and financing the society that we see today. Okay, it said Nathan Mayer Rothschild, the banking family, 19th century patriarch, and James William Freshfield, founder of Freshfields, a top city law firm, benefited financially from slavery records, all right, from National Archives show. Even though both have often been portrayed as opponents of slavery, we're going to go into that as well. Okay, what they call the abolitionist movement. It said these families, who are presently the ruling global trillionaire families, were probably the biggest slavers of all times in global history. Okay, But if you say this, you anti-Semitic. These families who are presently the ruling global trillionaire families were probably the biggest slavers of all time in global history. All right, let that resonate for a minute. You see, this is way before some goddamn Adidas, you know, and Amazon, man. All right, these elites, they true to this. They ain't new to this, man. Okay, yes, they run everything. That's why I told Adidas, shut that shit down. Okay, Nike, shut that shit down. All right, because every business has banks that they deal with, and who's over these banks, man. Okay, and it says, um, it said these families who are presently the ruling global trillionaire families were probably the biggest slavers of all time in global history, but their participation in the evil and illegal trade was always suppressed until recently. In fact, historical counts have been misrepresented to showcase the anti-slavery efforts of these ruling elites. Mr. Nathan Mayer Rothschild, Slavery and the Rise of Capitalism in the West. Nathan Mayer Rothschild was the leading London financier of his time. He was one of the founders of the International Rothschild family banking dynasty. He was born in Frankfurt am Main ghetto. Okay, and you go into ghetto, it goes into the living quarters of the Jews. When you go to that definition, you know, if the brother can find that definition of ghetto, where it goes to the living quarter of the Jews. Okay, it said the fourth child of Mayer Amschel Rothschild and Gotto Schnoper. Okay, it says he ostensibly operated first as a textile merchant in Manchester, but was deeply involved in financing, loan sharking, and speculation. Okay, on the slave trading exchange of Manchester, a British city which which competed with Liverpool and London as the international capital of slave trade. Having made so much profit from slave trading and financing in the Manchester Slave Exchange, he then expanded to dealing on the London Stock Exchange. Okay, having made so much profit from slave trading. All right, it says from 1809, Rothschild began to deal in the gold bullion exploited from Africa and South Africa. He also speculated in financial instruments such as foreign bills and government securities related to such ventures as the theft of entire countries. Okay, the theft of entire countries. Okay, this is in the 1800s. Amalek making hella moves. You see, because what they would do, they would give governments these loans. Okay, because governments need money to operate. Okay, and sometimes they weren't able to raise money fast enough to operate. So these private, investors would pretty much give out loans to whole governments, and the governments would be indebted to them. And this is how they became thieves of entire countries. Okay, if you accept these central bank loans, they run your country because you're in debt to them. Matter of fact, if a brother can post it in let's say Proverbs 22:7. Okay. think it's Proverbs. Let me see. Let me make sure. Proverbs 22. Yep, Proverbs 22:7. Baba Shop. All right, and the water for the definition. You see this? Ghetto. It says a quarter of a city in which Jews were formerly required to live. A quarter of a city in which members of a minority group live, especially because of social. All right. Well, this dealing with today. Dealing with Jake in the ghetto, which ironic they are. You know, the real Jews, all right, the true Israelites. Okay. But you go to that first definition, you will have quarters in the city which Jews were formerly required to live. And what did Nathan, okay, Rothschild come from? He came from a ghetto in Frankfurt. Okay, small hat. All right. Now, this is when you go to Proverbs 22:7. This is pretty much one of the ways that the elite banking families, okay, rule the earth. It's through debt. Okay, you have a thing called debt slaves. Okay, but they have so much capital that they can put a whole nation in debt to them. Okay, you can you can let little Ray borrow $30 and he owe you. So you got a little leverage on them. You see, these all right banking cartels have enough personal capital to where they can give whole countries a loan. Okay, and this is how one of the ways that they rule. Proverbs 22:7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Okay, and the borrower is servant to the lender. And see, that's why you see these athletes now, they have to, be so cooned out because pretty much Esau, these small hats are letting these niggas borrow these lifestyles. Okay, that's why you can see Esau, these small hats can turn these niggas on and off. Kanye went from being worth, so-called 6.6 billion to being worth a few hundred million. You see, overnight, Esau letting these niggas borrow these lifestyles, man. Okay, he'll shut that shit off, and these niggas, all right, are in line because they're servant to the lender. You see. But he does whole nations like that, just to break it down on a lower level. But he does whole nations like that, man. I hope this is making sense. All right. And it says, where was it? I just start back here. It said from 1809, Rothschild began to deal in global bullion exploited from Africa and South Africa. He also speculated in financial instruments, all right, such as foreign bills and government securities related to such ventures as the thief, all right, as the theft of entire countries and their resources. Okay, but brother can post that he covered fields. Okay, later, all right, because what he does, he steals resources from these other nations. He sets up. See, these nations, they are rich in resources, but they don't have the industrial equipment it takes to extrapolate the resources and put them on the global market. He does. So he's able to come in and set up an industry for the resources of another nation, and then he just pays off a few of the government officials, okay, so they could persuade the people that this is the best thing going. Okay, they had their speech on the podium. Okay, like this is groundbreaking. This is the best thing going. All right, but Esau is really getting the true, okay, the true profit off of the resources because he has the industrial, okay, resources, the infrastructure, and the control of the global market to where he can set up shop, okay, in these third world countries that are rich in resources, and he gets the benefits off the resources. And that's why these resource rich nations are poor, okay, are poor as hell, okay, but these elites are rich, okay, beyond what you can imagine. And it says, it said Rothschild made so much money from his rambunctious devilry that he was said to be richer than the Bank of England. It turns out that this might have been the truth in 1825 through 26. He was reportedly able to supply enough coin to the Bank of England to enable it to avert a liquidity crisis. When he died in 1836 due to an effective abscess, okay, he had secured the position of the Rothschilds, the preeminent investing banker in Britain and Europe. His son Lionel Nathan Rothschild continued the family business, okay, in England. Now, let's get this, okay. This is the brother Yashima tribe of Judah. It says, and they covered fields, okay. When they see things are rich in resources, okay, they begin to plot. It says, and take them by violence, okay, which they do. They'll come up with some excuse to wage a war, and they'll wage a war, and they'll set up shop, okay, and extract the resources in those new territories that they, all right, have control of now, man. It says, in houses and take them away, so they oppress a man, okay, and his house, even a man and his heritage. Yeah, because hey, the Lord put nations of people on earth and gave them lands so they could be self-sufficient, okay. So nations would be able to trade with each other, and pretty much everyone will be self-sufficient, within their lands. Esau destroyed that. That's why so much poverty, because he's coming in and taking all the resources, and you can't be self-sufficient in your land because all the resources, okay, are being put on ships and sent away. Okay, being put on trains and sent away. Okay. This nigga's doing a lot of wickedness in the earth, man. All right. It says when he died in it says the financial empire of the Rothschild dynasty still exists in all its fullest power, sway, and influence even today. Okay. Now, show you how this man works. They profited the most off the slave trade, but then something happened to where things needed to change. So what they do, just like they do now, they started a movement amongst the people to make it seem as if it was the people that wanted to change. Okay, but no, they finance these movements because they want to change, and we're gonna get too up to. Hey, this is the this is deep what this man does, man. Okay, I said I pray, making sense. If I need to stop and slow down, I try not to explain these things. A lot of information, but are we still good so far? We finna go a little deeper delve into it. Just give me a thumbs up or a con. Let me know that we all on the same page. I want everybody to have a good understanding, okay, of what these men are doing. Okay, Amalek has been doing in the background, and has shaped, society, okay, the way that they want it. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Got a few more. We're gonna get into a few more videos after this. All right, so let's read down. So They financed the most off of the slave trade. But then something happened, the Industrial Revolution. So now they needed to get the slaves from being agricultural slaves to industrial slaves. That's why you have Harriet Tubman and all the different names they taught us in school as being these leaders or freeing our people from slavery. No. Okay? The Industrial Revolution saw, okay, equipment that was efficient enough where you didn't need all that manpower on these plantations. You didn't need all this manpower for agriculture. You needed more manpower in these industries, steel industries, the different industries that was coming up, these plants that was coming up. Okay, so they pushed the movement, the abolishment of slavery. Okay, as if they was for freeing the slaves, as they cared about Jake. But no, they need to transfer you from the plantation to the plant. Okay, we're gonna read a little bit of this, and I got a few videos, and we're gonna go into it. It says, ironically, Mr. Nathan Mayer Rothschild was well known for his philanthropism. Shit, I can't say all this shit. Y'all know this shit, man. Okay. It says, and his abolitionist, all right, sentiments, abolishedness goes into what to abolish, to get rid of something. Okay, and they made it seem as if it was about abolishing slavery for the sake of humanity, love for humanity. But no, it was it was about transferring from the plantation to the plant. Okay, it says according to his company, all right, historians, Rothschild fought publicly for the emancipation of slaves. He was also whitewashed as prominent civil liberties campaigner with many like-minded associates. However, in private, the sneaky Mr. Rothschild was making a killing literally off slavery. Newly uncovered documents revealed by Financial Times of London for the first time show that the Rothschild made more personal gains by using slaves as collateral and banking dealing with slave owners. Incidentally, Rothschild was the one who produced the loan that funded the UK government bailout of British slave owners when British government sanctioned slavery industry was abolished in 1830s. So pretty much what happened, he pushed for the abolishment of slavery, okay, and they got it pushed through the government. And what he did, he paid the slave owners out of pocket. So they pretty much, the elites brought niggas off the plantation, man. Like, here you go. I'm gonna buy you out. Okay, and I'm gonna give you a compensation, but we need these niggas in plants. Okay, we got tractors and different things now that do what them niggas used to do. We need these niggas for something else, man. And that's where you get that civil war from, man, in America. Okay, it was the elites, all right, versus these privately wealthy Edomites in the South. Okay, that's what that dispute was about. Okay, Abraham Lincoln didn't care about you niggas, man. Okay, Harriet Tubman was leading you niggas to work. She didn't get you off. She just lead you to a new job. She led you to a new job, man. You like to big her up. Okay, and it says, the bailout of British slave owners is reportedly the biggest bailout of an industry in history. In today's dollar, it dwarfs recent bills, bailout rescues of the banking, financial, and automobile sectors. Okay, in pulling off this financial coup de grace, which amounted to the rescue of the entire economy of the British Empire, which was solidly founded and on the enslavement of African people, Mr. Nathan Mayer Rothschild became the unchallenged master of Europe. You see? This is what these bankers have been doing behind the scenes. Okay, you got a nigga burning his Adidas jacket. Yeah, that nigga burning the Nike, the one. Like, God damn, he burning the ones, you know, the Jordan one. You know? This nigga doing that as if he's making a change. Like, no, niggas are so far behind, man. You know, niggas are extremely behind. Okay, when they come to understanding how these things work, man. Okay, so let me cue up this video. All right. Yep, the perfect precept, the water brother. It's your brother, I'm a one. All right, so Rock 14:7. It said, and if he do it good, he doeth it unwillingly. Okay, Esau, it seemed like he was about, you know, it seemed like there was a group of Edomite, okay, called the abolitionists, that was all about freeing you niggas, man. They was all about your well-being. They was concerned about you getting your ass whooped. Okay. All right, by these country Edomites in the South, man. Okay. Like they was the different, like these was the good white people. That's what Jake did. All of them not like that. Yes, nigga. Okay, they just need you for a different purpose. Okay. You see? And it says, and at the last he would declare his wickedness. Yeah, and his wickedness was to get your ass in these plants. Okay. And that's what the play was, to work the hell out your ass in these plants where you barely make it, okay, and you still catching hell. You see? Yep, just like the brother said. It said this is beyond Yashala, Sirach 19:26 said there is a wicked man that hanging down his head sadly, but inwardly, okay, he is full of deceit. You know, he came as I'm looking at what's going on and I feel so bad, you know, for men shouldn't have to live like this, you know, people shouldn't have to live like this. This is God awful, you know, something has to be done. Okay. And in fact, I risk, you know, you know, I risk, you know, being persecuted to make sure that y'all get free from this. Okay. So let's get this. Let's cue this up. So this gonna go into the abolition, um, the abolitionist, all right, movement, abolitionist movement. Shit. Damn, they're too country to say all this shit, man. So let's share this, okay? Now these names are the names that we've been taught in school, and you know looked up, all right. But these people were set up, man. You go back into history, you see like the things that come out today of people being set up, like Black Lives Matter, how they're set up and funded, okay, by the elitists. Okay, they've been doing this, man. Okay, yeah, say they centuries ahead of everyone else, man. Okay, but see, the spirit has what him being uncovered. Okay, a brother can post it on Jeremiah, was it 49:10. Okay, I'm gonna play this. All right, and then we're gonna go into some more things.
Beginning in the 1830s with the really famous abolitionists like William Lloyd Garrison, Frederick Douglass. But really, it goes all the way back to the colonial era. Of course, the first people to resist slavery are the enslaved Africans themselves. But in terms of white critics, the earliest ones are almost always Quakers. And it's really in the 1750s when the Quakers kind of really as a society, the Society of Friends, turn against slavery. And that's we often think about the abolition movement beginning in the 1830s with really famous abolitionists like William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass. But really, it goes all the way back to the colonial era. Of course, the first people to resist slavery are the enslaved Africans themselves. But in terms of white critics, the earliest ones are almost always Quakers. And it's really in the 1750s
when the Quakers kind of really as a society, the Society of Friends, turn against slavery. And that's largely due to the actions of two men, John Woolman of New Jersey and Anthony Benezet of Pennsylvania. And between 1755, beginning then, the leaders of the Quakers begin to pass a series of resolutions saying the Quakers can no longer own slaves. And by 1776, most Quakers in America have accepted these rules, and they've ended slavery within the society. Beginning with the American Revolution, this opens up a new opportunity for Quakers to move their anti-slavery beyond their own religious group to American society as a whole. And they begin petitioning the Confederation Congress in 1783. And they petition them pretty much nonstop in the ensuing decades.
Abolitionists, especially Black abolitionists, were uncompromising in their stance that slavery had to be ended immediately in the United States. They were far less sympathetic to early white abolitionist calls for a gradual abolition, that is sort of a piecemeal ending of slavery. But Black abolitionists, people like Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Jacobs, John Russwurm, Samuel Cornish, all of these men who really emerge as intellectual and political community leaders in Northern Black communities are uncompromising in their argument that slavery runs contrary to the laws of God, as well as the founding principles of the United States, the ideals of individual rights, individual freedoms. And they argue that the only way to reconcile this fundamental contradiction is simply to end slavery and to recognize all African Americans as citizens of the nation, as rights-bearing citizens.
William Lloyd Garrison, like many of the other abolitionists who become prominent in the 1830s, he actually begins as a colonizationist. In the 1820s, he's an assistant editor for this paper called The Genius of Universal Emancipation. And it's advocating emancipation, but it also supports the idea of African colonization, that African Americans should be able to voluntarily move back to Africa. But over time, Garrison becomes more and more radical, and he's really influenced by a lot of African American activists as well, especially David Walker, a Black man from Massachusetts. In 1829, he publishes a pamphlet called An Appeal to the Citizens, Colored Citizens of the World. And basically, he calls on them to resist slavery and oppose African colonization, saying, we were born in America, this is where we want to stay. And William Lloyd Garrison kind of subscribes to this view that African Americans deserve to stay in America, that's their homeland. And he and his followers begin demanding immediate abolition rather than gradual. In some ways, immediatism is a term that kind of confuses people. What they're saying is we should immediately end slavery, but they also know that's not going to happen. So they're willing to accept gradual abolition. They just want it to begin immediately. They often make that distinction. Gradual abolition immediately begun.
Initially, Black abolitionists have a difficult time establishing alliances and connections with white abolitionists. There's a struggle that in many ways is a struggle about sort of internal or latent racism, we might think of, on the part of white abolitionists who are not quite ready to accept Black leadership in the movement, who are not ready to accept Black people's insistence that they are in fact capable of testifying to their own experiences and articulating a political agenda. William Lloyd Garrison is most notable for taking an opposite tack, right? For recognizing the value and contributions of Black leadership, not just of Black men, but also of Black women. What makes Garrison so radical is that he openly supports and endorses women's activism, white women and Black women, as playing important leadership roles in the abolitionist movement. And it's Garrison's support of an interracial movement and of a movement of men and women that makes him seem so radical and even dangerous, even among some of his fellow abolitionists, that Garrison is really seen as being on the cutting edge of pushing for social change.
When the Garrisonians reject African colonization, kind of the other side of that is that they embrace the idea of African Americans being integrated into American society. And they are much more vocal about granting and defending Black civil rights, like voting. Now, some of the earlier gradual abolitionists, some of the Quakers, had supported this also, but it wasn't a major part of their kind of agenda. For the radical abolitionists beginning in the 1830s, equal rights for Black Americans is a central part of the movement.
Yeah, so as you can see, okay, with this whole abolitionist movement, that pretty much there was a push, to get Jake out those plantations. Okay. And from the 1830s, then you had the build up to the Civil War, 1864. The 1865, you had the Emancipation. Okay, which was pretty much a transfer of private slaves to corporate slaves, man. Okay, that was their whole back and forth struggle was about. And Esau, he puts up these political, he puts up these pretty much on the surface level. You'll look at it and you'll see men, so-called Black men, and women, so-called white men and women fighting for the cause of humanity, but no, the real play, all right, was the Industrial Revolution now. So you have this happening in the 1830s, but over here in Britain, you had something else happen. You had this happening, man. Okay, so let's go to that. And what they did, they linked women's. Matter of fact, I get that. Then we go to the industrial. Okay, let's get this video here. It's quick. All right, then we'll go into the industrial side of it. Okay. And it's a lot of computer slow as hell today, man.
I think abolitionism was a great seedbed of the feminist movement. And I say this because in the Abolitionist Convention of 1840, the Anti-Slavery Convention in London, women were allowed just to sit in the galleries behind a curtain. They weren't allowed to actually have a voice in the main convention. They could kind of sit up there and just kind of listen to it. And this really got a lot of these women angry, and people like Lucretia Mott, several others that were at that convention, got together and said, this is wrong. We have to not only fight against slavery with our fellow abolitionists, we have to fight against the enslavement of women. And you had the rise of the women's rights movement. So you have the first women's rights convention in the world. that occurs in upstate New York in Seneca Falls in 1848. And they rewrite the Declaration of Independence to say that all men and women are created equal, not just men, all men and women are created equal. And they begin to call for the vote. Of course, the vote doesn't come until around 1920, much later on, but you begin the movement for the vote for women, for increased property rights for women, for increased employment opportunities for women.
But they also move into other issues at the same time. They move into temperance issues. They look at male drunkenness. They looked at the amount of money that goes into the saloons. They see this as not simply a moral issue, but as it were an economic injustice perpetuated against wives, perpetuated against daughters. Get the men out of the saloon and you'll have more money for the family. Some of them will move into missionary efforts. But by the very end of the 19th century, some of the women involved in the women's movements will also move into urban reform. And they'll take on issues of children, they'll take on issues of mothers' health, and help make cities places where people can eat wholesome food, where they can be safe in their jobs. So they become one of the spearheads of progressive reform. And it's that social ambition that goes together with their ambition for the suffrage that really defines the women's movement by the early 20th century.
All right, so as you can see, it's a lucky for the the buffering, man. It's buffering like crazy. But as you can see, what they did was they merged the abolitionist movement, okay, with what? The women's rights, okay, to the point where he saw he's been pushing propaganda. It just went from him doing it on posters, okay, in newspapers, to him having media and social media and entertainment and movies. He can interject so much more, propaganda, through more avenues now. Well, back then it was mainly newspapers and posters, and he'll make, it seem as if every woman felt like this, okay, or every man felt like this. He'll make it seem like the masses feel a certain way, and he starts a movement. Okay, he's been enchanting, before it was a TV. Okay, so the women are tired of their men in bars, you know. Come on, man. Yeah, these men do this hard, laborious work, and they go to a bar, and now it's an outcry, man. Come on, man. But that's what he does. Okay, that's how he operates, and it seems similar to what he did in the '60s with the civil rights movement. He put these niggas on the screen, Martin Luther King, different so-called leaders of Jake, okay, as if he was there for humanity. And then what did he put with the civil rights movement? The feminist movement, because he needs, all right, Jake to be distracted, and he needs households to be divided while he's setting up, okay, his infrastructure, how he wants to run the earth. Now, all these things were happening. The abolitionist movement, the women's right. See, the women's right goes back to the 1850s, man. Okay, Susan B. Anthony's, and all them handsome, Edomite women. Okay, so we're gonna get another video. All right, well, let's get this first. It's from the brother Yashima tribe of Judah, Jeremiah 49:10. It said, "But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not." Okay, Esau is being made bare. Everything this man has been doing in the background is coming to the forefront, to the point the Lord put the spirit, of these things to come out and to be broken down. you know, it's all recorded. Now, I want to go from there. I want to get this video next, to show why he was pushing abolition. All right, abolition and women's right. Okay, because he wanted you women in the plants too. Okay, he needed you away from the house. He wanted to free the agriculture slave and make them industrial slaves, and he wanted to get the woman from the man, okay, and put her, okay, within his new infrastructure, okay. Instead of you being an administrator and a secretary for your husband, okay, you're gonna be an administrator and a secretary for him, okay, in his industries. All right. So let's go to this.
The economic developments of the 18th Industrial Revolution 18th to 19th century. The economic developments of the 1800s saw the development of agrarian and handicraft economies in Europe and America transform into industrial urbanized ones. The term to describe this phenomenon would be known as the Industrial Revolution, and was first used by French writers but made popular by English economic historian Arnold Toynbee. The Industrial Revolution was underpinned by the Agricultural Revolution. From the mid-18th century to the mid-19th century, agricultural production increased significantly. The huge increase in food output supported the expansion and sustained a large population and boosted trade. The increased use of machines over human or animal power in farming also meant that less farm workers were needed, and they could leave the land to industrial towns. Better metals and richer fuel also contributed to industrialization by creating the steam engine, an integral machine to industrialization which powered factories, locomotives, and ships. The new steam engines used coal and iron, both in their construction and as fuel, increasing demand for these resources. Roads, canals, and railways changed Britain dramatically, connecting Britain and allowing goods to be sent over long distances. Visually, the revolution was clear in the new industrial towns, with smoking factories dominating the skyline. The cities were horrible to live in, overcrowded and dirty with dangerous conditions in the factories and strict rules and punishments. The Industrial Revolution saw mechanization in factories of the textile industry, which was previously manufactured in the home, creating the term cottage industry. Now, production could be increased on a large scale because of new inventions such as the spinning mule and the power loom. The iron industry developed with Henry Bessemer's inexpensive process for mass-producing steel. Iron and steel were key materials for constructing the tools and machinery, steam engines, and ships needed for the industrial progress. Industrial labor opportunities drew people to the cities from the countryside, to such an extent that in 1750 only 15% of the population of Britain lived in towns. By 1850, over 50% of the entire population of Great Britain lived in either a town or a city, and by 1900 it was 85%. London had 4.5 million people, Glasgow 760,000, Liverpool 685,000, and Manchester and Birmingham 500,000. Great Britain was the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution and was the only mature industrial economy for a long time. Historians have speculated that this was because, as an island, there was relative peace and stability for Britain compared to mainland Europe. Rather than spending on a large defensive standing army, capital could be spent on other ventures, and there was confidence for investors. Native resources were also abundant and readily available for initial technological developments and inventions. Engineers and inventors were also respected and encouraged in British society and were backed by wealthy patrons. A powerful navy and an empire bringing in vast wealth from its colonies also contributed to the catalyst for industrialization before others. Nevertheless, Germany, France, Switzerland, Belgium, and the United States soon emulated Britain's industrial change, and by 1900, Britain would no longer be at the top, with the United States as the world's leading industrial nation in the 20th century.
Subscribe for more history videos.
So as you can see, okay, you had the Industrial Revolution kick off in Britain, and that's why, slavery was abolished, okay, in Britain first, okay, taking those agricultural slaves and making them industrial slaves. You see, and then America emerged as a superpower during the industrial age due to this, slave system that it already had. And where did the abolitionist movement move next? To America. Okay, the abolitionist movement started because of the Industrial Revolution, man. They needed Jake for another purpose. Okay, nobody wasn't trying to free your ass, man. Okay, and niggas still celebrating Juneteenth today. Okay, but then I had to go to work the next day. You celebrate Juneteenth, and then the next day, on the 21st, you take your ass back to work, man. Okay, Now, so now we understand the Industrial Revolution. What have we been hearing lately? Okay, from you know, Esau's media and propaganda. The fourth Industrial Revolution. So I got a quick video to explain it. Okay, and these elites have been in the background doing this the whole time. Okay, and if you say, all right, these people run the earth, then you're off. Okay, so I got another one, and like I said, Salaki again for the buffer, man. Shit. So I got one more video, and this should bring everything home. All right, that we've been going over. All right, so let me cue this up. And if a brother can put in Job 9 and 24. And let's get that second Ezra 6 and 9, you know. All right, so I think this is it here. Yep. So another quick video, I was like three minutes and some change. So we'll play this, you know, then we'll wrap it up. You know, it should cover it all. And you know, Lord will, you know, this will be a spin-off. You know, we can delve into some other topics, you know, concerning what was going on, you know, but it's interesting to know. Helps you understand the right now better, you know.
Let's first define what technological revolution is. Technological revolution is a period in which one or more technologies is replaced by another technology in a short amount of time. It is an era of accelerated technological progress characterized by new innovations whose rapid application and diffusion cause an abrupt change in society. 1. First Industrial Revolution. The first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production. The first industrial revolution, the major shift of technological, socio-economic and cultural conditions in the late 18th century and early 19th century that began in Britain and spread throughout the world. 2. Second Industrial Revolution. The Second Industrial Revolution 1871 to 1914. The second used electric power to create mass production. The Second Industrial Revolution was another great leap forward in technology and society. New innovations in steel production, petroleum and electricity led to the introduction of public automobiles and airplanes. In this lesson, learn about the key inventions that spurred this revolution. 3. Third Industrial Revolution. The Third Industrial Revolution, the sweeping changes brought about by computing and communication technology, starting from circa 1950 with the creation of the first general-purpose electronic computers. The third used electronics and information technology to automate production. The Third Industrial Revolution, How Lateral Power is Transforming Energy, the Economy, and the World is a book by Jeremy Rifkin published in 2011. The premise of the book is that fundamental economic change occurs when new communication technologies converge with new energy regimes, mainly renewable electricity. Now the Fourth Industrial Revolution, 4IR. Fourth Industrial Revolution is building on the third, the digital revolution that has been occurring since the middle of the last century. It is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. There are three reasons why today's transformations represent not merely a prolongation of the third industrial revolution but rather the arrival of a fourth and distinct one: velocity, scope, and systems impact. The speed of current breakthroughs has no historical precedent. When compared with previous industrial revolutions, the fourth is evolving at an exponential rather than a linear pace. Moreover, it is disrupting almost every industry in every country. And the breadth and depth of these changes herald the transformation of entire systems of production, management, and governance. The fourth industrial revolution, 4IR, characterized by the fusion of the digital, biological, and physical worlds, as well as the growing utilization of new technologies such as artificial intelligence, cloud computing, robotics, 3D printing, the Internet of Things, and advanced wireless technologies, among others, has ushered in a new era of economic disruption with uncertain socio-economic consequences for Africa. However, Africa has been left behind during the past industrial revolutions. The fourth industrial revolution, finally, will change not only what we do but also who we are. It will affect our identity and all the issues associated with it: our sense of privacy, our notions of ownership, our consumption patterns, the time we devote to work and leisure, and how we develop our careers, cultivate our skills, meet people, and nurture relationships. It is already changing our health and leading to a quantified self, and sooner than we think it may lead to human augmentation. The list is endless because it is bound only by our imagination. Please subscribe and like Timothy.
If you're a college
So as you can see, you know what it's all leading to. Okay, you can see what it started. Go back to Christopher Columbus. Okay, him being financed by Amaleks to come and explore, you know, and map out things and pretty much start the transportation of, okay, human cargo. All right, which started the what? The slave trade. You know, then you had the Spanish and Portuguese really jumping off, you know, transferring slaves from one hemisphere to the next. Okay, then you had the Britons getting involved. All right, especially during, you know, the time of the banking cartels, and they kicked off, and you had the Industrial Revolution. Okay, where slaves were taken from agriculture to the industry. All right, then what do you have now? Okay, you had the civil rights movement, and that's when, you know, they needed more corporate slaves. Okay, when communications and things, you know, kicked off, and you know that's why you have, especially even with the feminist movement, you had a lot of women fighting to work. Okay, and they do a lot. A lot of these women have a lot of jobs that deal with what? Communications. Okay, on phones and emails and all these different things. All right, that's what, and they was always in the background doing these things, man. Okay, and see, this is what we at today, the fourth industrial revolution, where things will be digital, and he's gonna want to put something inside of you, man. Okay, so all right, everything has been put out in the open. All right, and it's no secret who runs the earth. All right, that's why I get that in Job, Job 9. Okay, Job 9 and 24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the earth has been given into this man's hands, and the elites have been able to fashion the world to their liking, and they did it in deception, man. Okay, the scriptures say that he would do what? When you go to Revelation 20. Okay, I'll just read off the phone because I say computer dragging his ass today. This is on Revelation 20:7. It says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. Okay. Satan was loosed out of his prison. Let's go into Esau during the Renaissance period. Okay, he was loose to go influence the earth in wickedness, in which he did. It says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. And that's what he has done. Okay. The abolition movement was a deception. Okay. The civil rights movement, the feminist movement was a deception. Okay. He's been ensnaring the masses to this fourth industrial revolution, which would be digital captivity. Okay. You went from agriculture to industrial. Now he wants you to be in digital captivity. Okay. Well, he has much more control. Okay. So, finish it off, but what is it going to lead to? God and Magog, which is Russia, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is the saying of the sea. So now this war, World War III, is going to end this wicked age of Esau Edom. Okay, because Yahweh Shai will enter. Okay, that will be the stage. All right, that will be the scene in the movie when Yahweh Shai will enter in and conquer. Okay, the earth in righteousness, man. You see, a whole new regime, and this is what we're fighting to be a part of, brothers. Okay, so Lord Wood, it was edifying. You know, I know it's kind of lengthy. You know, it's a little longer because of the buffering. You know, so lucky for that, man. I like for things to be on point, man. You know, but I had to just wait. You know, send up prayers, and the Lord allowed the information to come out. Like I say, Lord Wood, it was informative. You know, if you brothers, you sisters have any questions dealing with anything, you know, hey, go into it, you know. And like I say, maybe we'll delve into a few things, you know, a few spin-off lessons, you know, dealing with this, you know, especially on how the steel industry in Birmingham influenced, you know, the steel industry, okay, in America, you know. I probably have to get the brother Corner Waff out of Birmingham, because their brother, he's real informative, you know, when it comes to you know, their history, especially dealing with Birmingham, you know, those brothers that, you know, because Birmingham, Alabama, you know, was named after, you know, Birmingham and London, you know, and you have a lot of wealthy Edomites, you know, in Birmingham, Alabama, you know, but I say, you know, Lord will, you know, we can link up, you know. I had to hit that brother up, and we put some things on wax, man, you know, just you know, bridging this history together and really getting an understanding, you know. So till the next time, I say Shalom, Kwame Ajala, Abba, DTA soon, Shalom.